Captain stepped off the shuttle and onto the surface of, his boots sinking slightly into the soft, violet-tinged ground. The air shimmered with a strange energy, warm yet heavy, carrying scents he could not identify, sweet, metallic, and almost alive. He had traveled across light years, expecting a hostile welcome, but the world itself seemed to watch him with quiet curiosity. Twin moons hovered above, one larger than the other, casting pale light over a city that glittered like crystal. Towers of translucent metal spiraled into the sky, reflecting the moon's glow, and felt a shiver of awe mixed with unease. He had trained for this. Negotiation missions, hostile encounters, survival under impossible conditions. All of it had prepared him for the unknown. Yet nothing had prepared him for what awaited inside the palace. Intelligence had been clear. The Queen would meet him personally. That sounded routine until he remembered the stories of alien queens so powerful, so merciless, that even their own people obeyed out of fear rather than respect. And here he was, a human, small and fragile in comparison, walking toward the gates of legend. The palace doors opened slowly, moving as if alive. A deep hum resonated through the hall, vibrating through his chest. Light spilled from the interior, revealing a throne room of impossible scale. At the far end, seated on a high dais, was Queen. She was unlike anything had imagined. Her skin shimmered with subtle hues of silver and gold, her eyes swirling like twin galaxies. Her form was tall, elegant, almost fragile, yet there was a command in her posture that demanded attention. And then she spoke. Human, her voice was soft but carried through the hall like a melody laced with steel. "I need your help." Froze, the words hung in the air, echoing off the crystalline walls. He had expected caution, pride, perhaps even hostility. Begging, he had never expected a queen, an alien queen, to plead with him. His heart thumped, a mix of disbelief and something unidentifiable, a stirring curiosity, maybe, or the faintest flicker of connection. He had faced danger countless times, but this was different. This was personal, intimate in its intensity, though the stakes were planetary. He stepped forward, boots clicking softly against the smooth floor. "What kind of help?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Inside, a quiet part of him wondered if he should run. Humans were small, weak, fragile, and yet he had always survived. Somehow, instinct told him that he was here for a reason beyond orders or duty. Rose slowly, her figure tall against the soft glow of the palace. Her hands extended slightly, palms upward, as if reaching for trust itself. "My counsel has turned against me," she explained, her eyes briefly flicking downward, revealing a vulnerability that made his chest tighten. "They plan to imprison me. They will take everything, my throne, my people, even my life. I am asking, begging for you to help me survive." Swallowed hard, he had faced enemies before, faced battles where life and death hung in the balance, yet he had never felt the weight of someone's trust pressing on him like this. Not just respect or duty, trust, faith, desperation. He realized that this queen, feared across her world, had placed her life in the hands of a human. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hall was silent but for the hum of the palace itself. Outside, Smoons watched silently, felt a surge of human pride, a flame of courage he had not expected. Here in this alien world, he was not just a visitor. He was a choice, a force that could change the fate of an entire planet. Finally, he nodded slowly. "I'll do it," he said, his voice firm. "I don't know how yet, but I'll help you." His eyes widened slightly, a mixture of relief and disbelief passing over her face. The hum of the palace seemed to shift, almost as if it recognized the alliance that had just been forged. In that moment, realized something profound. Humans were underestimated, fragile yet unstoppable, capable of tipping the scales where even the mightiest feared to act. And hereon he was about to prove it. Followed Queen through the palace corridors, each step echoing softly against walls that glimmered with alien light. The air was thick with anticipation and a strange hum, as if the building itself knew the danger lurking within. She moved with quiet grace, but her shoulders carried tension, a subtle tremor revealing her fear. Could sense it, and it stirred something protective inside him. This was no longer just a mission, it was personal. "My counsel," began, her voice barely above a whisper, "they have betrayed me. They believe I am weak, that I can be replaced. But if they succeed, if I fall, itself will crumble." Her words hung heavy in the glowing air. Had seen greed and ambition before, but the cold, calculated treachery in her counsel chilled him to the bone. He glanced at her as they walked. "Why me?" he asked honestly. I'm just human, small, fragile, not even a soldier on your scale. Stopped for a moment and looked at him, her luminous eyes wide with a mix of desperation and hope. Because human, your kind surprises us. You endure, you adapt. You face impossibilities we would not survive. That is why I believe in you. Felt a shiver of pride mixed with fear. He had survived countless battles, had faced creatures whose very existence could have crushed him, but this was different. This was not about weapons or numbers. It was about trust, faith, and courage. And for the first time, he realized that humans were underestimated for a reason. They carried a strength that even the most powerful could not predict. They reached a balcony overlooking the palace gardens. Strange Flora glowed softly under the light of the twin moons, paused, her hands resting on the railing. If I fall, she said, her voice trembling, it will not just be my life. Countless innocents will suffer, my people, my family, even the humans who visit our world might never leave safely. She looked down, fighting to keep her composure. I am asking, no, I am begging you, help me survive this betrayal. Took a deep breath. He could see the weight of her crown, not just as a symbol, but as a burden that pressed on her every moment. His heart thudded as he considered the enormity of what she asked. He could turn back, claim ignorance, leave her to fate, but some part of him refused. He had never been a hero. He had never been needed in a way that mattered. Yet now, here he was, and the path ahead demanded courage he hadn't fully realized he possessed. I don't fully understand everything, said quietly. But I do know one thing, I will stand with you. I will protect you, whatever it takes. His eyes glistened. A faint smile appeared on her lips, fragile yet radiant. You are unlike any human I have imagined, not just brave, but compassionate, wise, strong in ways even my counsel cannot comprehend. Felt a warmth he had never known. He had faced fear, pain, and death, but never had he encountered someone who believed so entirely in him. For the first time, he realized that strength was not just in weapons or numbers, but in the ability to endure, to make choices that mattered, to inspire trust. Humans had that power. Suddenly, a low alarm echoed through the palace corridors, stiffened. They know we move. They are already plotting, she said, urgency sharpening her voice. Instinctively moved closer, ready to protect her, ready to face whatever lay ahead. He glanced at the moons outside, thinking of Earth, thinking of the fragile beauty of human life. Somewhere across the galaxy, other humans would never know what he was about to face, but he didn't care. For the first time, he realized why humans survived where others failed. Courage was born from choice, not strength. I'm ready, he said firmly. Show me the way. Nodded and for the first time saw the full weight of her hope resting on him. He knew then that their journey would not just decide her fate, but would prove something far larger, that a single human, underestimated and small, could change the destiny of a planet. And Queen moved quietly through the hidden corridors of the palace. Every step was cautious, every shadow a potential threat. The hum of the palace walls pulsed like a heartbeat, almost as if the building itself was alive and aware of their intrusion. His fingers brushed lightly along the railings, her touch trembling despite her elegance. Noticed it immediately. She was not just a ruler in danger. She was a being clinging to hope, her vulnerability shining through the regality she always wore. They never expected me to see this, whispered, her voice low and urgent. The council has spies everywhere. Guards, advisors, even my closest allies have been bribed, manipulated, or threatened into obedience. If they catch us, it won't just be me. They will make you a warning for anyone who dares to interfere. His chest tightened. He had faced enemies with weapons, monsters, and treacherous terrain, but this was different. The danger was intimate, personal. These were beings who had once called her family, now turned into predators. And yet he felt something ignite inside him, a fierce, human determination that refused to bow. Humans were underestimated for a reason, and right now, that underestimation was their greatest weapon. They reached a narrow chamber lit with a strange, pulsating light. Paused and turned to him. If I fall here, it won't just be death for me. We'll bleed, my people will suffer, our world will descend into chaos. I cannot face them alone. Looked at her, seeing not just a queen, but a creature of flesh and spirit, trusting him entirely. He swallowed hard. You will not fall, he said quietly, yet firmly. I don't care how powerful they are, we adapt, we fight, and we survive, that's what humans do. His eyes widened, a mixture of relief and disbelief flashing across her features. For a moment, silence reigned, broken only by the distant hum of the palace. Then a soft, metallic clatter echoed from the hall, moved instinctively, signaling for to stay close. Guards appeared around the corner, their eyes narrowed, weapons drawn. Heart raced, but he stayed calm. He had trained for chaos, for moments where precision mattered more than strength. With swift motions, he disabled the first guard with a combination of energy pulses and quick thinking, then drew behind him as the others advanced. "Stay close," he shouted, firing a precise shot that short-circuited a security drone. Followed his lead, moving with agility and silent trust. Every moment they survived reinforced a bond beyond words, an unspoken connection that neither fully understood, yet both relied upon. The corridors twisted and turned, but sharp mind found a path through the palace's hidden architecture. He led past surveillance points, past guards who had expected her to be trapped. She glanced at him once, eyes glimmering with admiration and something warmer, something dangerous to admit, hope. You are unlike any being I've known," she murmured as they paused in a shadowed alcove. "Even your kind, small, fragile, carries a strength that can bend worlds. I see it now. I trust you, completely." Felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the palace lights. It was pride, courage, and something deeper. The knowledge that humans were underestimated because they carried a spark no one could measure, a spark that could ignite change in worlds ruled by fear. A low rumble shook the corridor, signaling more danger ahead. Looked at. "We can do this," he said firmly. "Step by step, together." She nodded, drawing her own resolve from his. They pressed forward, shadows in the light, ready to face a council that had betrayed not just a queen, but a world. And realized, as they moved deeper into the heart of danger, that the true power of a human was not in size or weaponry, but in courage, in choice, and in the unbreakable will to stand against the impossible. And Queen moved cautiously through the palace's twisting passages, every shadow a possible threat. The hum of the walls grew louder as they approached the council's inner sanctum, vibrating in a way that made his chest tighten. But he was no longer just a soldier following orders. He was a human with purpose, a protector chosen by a queen desperate enough to trust him completely. His hand brushed against his as they stepped into a dimly lit corridor. The touch was fleeting, yet it sent a spark through, a warmth he hadn't felt in years. He realized then that this mission was more than survival. It was connection, trust, and a bond neither of them expected. Humans were small, yes, but capable of hearts that could burn brighter than twin moons. "They never imagined it," whispered, her voice soft but trembling with emotion. "A human walking beside a queen, alive, unafraid. You are extraordinary." Glanced at her, noticing the subtle strain in her posture. She radiated regality, but beneath it there was vulnerability, a fear that she carried silently. He felt protective, not because of duty, but because something deep inside him recognized her as more than a ruler. She was a life, a being worth risking everything for. As they pressed on, they heard the distant shuffle of guards. His mind raced. He had to think quickly, outsmarting the enemies who had turned against the queen. Every step became a test of strategy, timing, and instinct. Yet with beside him, he felt an energy he had never known. Humans thrived under pressure, adapted where others would fail, and in this moment, that human trait became their greatest weapon. They reached a hidden chamber where the palace's surveillance systems were concentrated. Studied the alien technology, blinking at its complexity. He had no formal training in systems, but human curiosity and improvisation worked in his favor. He tapped, pressed, and rerouted circuits, creating distractions and closing pathways that would trap the pursuing guards. Watched in astonishment. How can you do that?" she asked, her voice filled with awe. "No one here has ever thought to manipulate this way." Shrugged, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Humans, we improvise, we survive. That's what makes us dangerous when no one expects it." For a moment, the corridor fell silent. Eyes softened as she studied him, realizing that the human beside her was not just clever, but courageous in ways her species often could not understand. Her trust, once tentative, now became firm, shining in the silver and gold of her eyes. "You are remarkable," she murmured. "Not just for your strength, but for your heart. You carry what my people have forgotten, compassion, courage, and the will to act even when the odds are impossible. Felt a surge of warmth at her words. He had never been praised like this. He had never been seen for what he truly was. And now, in the heart of an alien world beside a queen who had begged for his help, he realized something profound. Humans were underestimated not because they were weak, but because they carried an indomitable spark. Suddenly, a shadow fell across the corridor. A patrol of guards rounded the corner, weapons raised, eyes narrowed. Reacted instantly, positioning himself in front of. She nodded, silent but trusting. Together, they moved as one, using strategy and speed, adding her agility and energy control. Each step, each maneuver was a demonstration of human adaptability combined with alien grace. When the patrol finally retreated and stood alone in the quiet corridor, her hand touched his arm, a gesture of gratitude and something deeper. Connection, admiration, perhaps the first threads of trust that could blossom into more. "I never imagined a human could," began but stopped, the words catching in her throat. She only nodded, letting the silence speak. Understood. They had crossed a line, not just into enemy territory, but into each other's trust, their bond unspoken yet undeniable. In that quiet moment, realized something powerful. Humans survived not because of size, strength, or technology, but because they dared to care, dared to trust, and dared to fight for what mattered, even against impossible odds. And now, standing beside a queen who had once begged him for help, he understood that he was no longer just a human in a strange world. He was a force, a spark, and perhaps the one being who could change the fate of itself. And Queen finally reached the council chamber, the heart of the palace where betrayal had festered for weeks. Massive doors of translucent alloy loomed before them, etched with glowing runes that pulsed like the rhythm of a living heartbeat. Behind those doors waited the council members, traitors who had plotted against their queen, and knew this confrontation would decide the fate of a planet. Glanced at him, her silver eyes filled with tension. "They have power here, weapons, guards, even traps we do not yet know. If we fail, may never recover." Swallowed, feeling the pressure, but the spark inside him flared brighter. "Then we do not fail," he said. "We survive, we adapt. That is what humans do." Nodded, placing a hand briefly on his shoulder. A silent gesture of trust, gratitude, and hope. Felt something surge in his chest, not just courage, but a burning determination that humans, though small, could shift destinies where even gods hesitated. He stepped forward and studied the chamber doors. Instead of charging, he took a deep breath, using the analytical mind that had kept him alive through countless battles. He examined the runes, the energy conduits, and the patterns of security. Then, with precise movements, he manipulated the chamber's controls. Lights flickered, panels shifted, and pathways that were once barriers became traps for the council members themselves. Had turned their own defenses against them, using creativity, cunning, and the instinctive problem-solving that humans excel at. Watched in awe. "What are you doing?" she whispered. "I'm giving us a chance," he replied calmly, though his heart raced. "Sometimes it's not brute force that wins, it's brains, strategy, and timing." As the massive doors opened, the council stormed out, confident in their superiority. They were armed, dangerous, and furious, but they did not expect what had prepared. Energy grids shifted under their feet, automated defenses moved to cut off exits, and the very room seemed to betray them. One by one, the council members found themselves trapped, disarmed, or incapacitated by systems they thought only they could control. His eyes widened. How is this possible? No human could." Smiled faintly. "We improvise, we endure, we fight when no one expects it." The council members struggled, realizing their power was useless against a human's ingenuity. Moved with precision, disabling key systems while guiding through the chaos. Together, they advanced to the heart of the chamber, where the leaders of the betrayal could do nothing but watch in disbelief. When the dust settled, silence fell. The chamber's glow reflected on and standing side by side. The council was defeated, humiliated, and powerless. Expression softened, relief washing over her features like warm sunlight. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to breathe fully. You saved me," she said, her voice trembling with awe and gratitude. I never imagined a human could do this, that one small being could turn the tide of an entire world. Shrugged, trying to appear modest, though his chest swelled with pride. It's not about size, power, or weapons, he said quietly. It's about choice, courage. Humans survive because we don't wait for the world to give us permission. We act, we endure, we fight. That's all there is to it. Stepped closer, her hand resting on his arm, and for a moment the queen and the human shared a connection beyond words. She had begged him for help, and he had answered, not with fear, not with hesitation, but with the kind of ingenuity, bravery, and determination that defined humanity. I underestimated humans, she admitted softly. But I see now your strength is not in your size or technology, it is in your spirit. Smiled, a warmth spreading through him that had nothing to do with victory and everything to do with recognition. Here, on a distant planet, the smallest and most underestimated species had shifted the fate of a world. And in that moment, he knew one truth. Humans were never weak, never powerless. They were unpredictable, unstoppable, and capable of greatness no one expected. The Council may have been defeated, but realized this was only the beginning. The galaxy had just witnessed a human force unlike any other, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Council chamber was quiet now, the last echoes of struggle fading into the glowing walls. Stood beside Queen, her luminous eyes reflecting relief, awe, and something deeper, a kind of gratitude that could not be measured by words alone. For the first time in weeks, the weight on her shoulders seemed lighter, as if the very act of survival had given her back her strength. She turned to him, her voice soft, trembling slightly with emotion. You saved my life, not just mine, but the life of every citizen who depends on me. I am forever in your debt. Shook his head, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with victory. You don't owe me anything, he said quietly. I helped because I could, because it mattered. That's what humans do. His gaze softened, her silver eyes shining like twin stars. She stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. You're kind, humans. We always thought you were fragile, weak, small, but I see now. Strength is not in size or weapons or numbers. It is in the heart, the mind, and the courage to act when all odds are against you. You are extraordinary. Felt a strange emotion rising inside him. Pride, yes, but also something more tender. For the first time in his life, he felt truly seen, truly needed, and truly admired. Humans had always been underestimated, overlooked, treated as insignificant. Yet here, on a distant alien world, his actions had reshaped history, saved lives, and earned the trust of a queen who was more powerful than any being he had ever known. His hand lingered on his arm. I have led for centuries, but never have I known loyalty or courage like yours. You are not just a human, you are a force that can change worlds. Smiled faintly, his mind racing. He had trained for combat, for survival, for diplomacy. But he had never imagined this, being recognized not for skill alone, but for the human spirit, for ingenuity, courage, and the ability to stand when all others faltered. It was the core of what his kind had always been capable of, and yet few had ever seen it. I never thought I'd be a hero, admitted softly. But maybe humans survive because we don't wait for others to save us. And sometimes that means stepping into impossible situations, even for someone we barely know. His eyes glistened with emotion. And sometimes, she said, voice catching, the impossible becomes possible because of someone like you. She hesitated, then allowed herself a small, genuine smile. You have earned not just my respect, but my trust, and in our world that is more precious than anything. For the first time, noticed a subtle vulnerability in the queen, a softness beneath the crown, beneath the power, beneath the fear. She was not invincible. She was alive. She had hopes, fears, and dreams, and she had trusted him with her very life. That trust was heavier than any weapon, stronger than any army, and it filled him with an unfamiliar warmth. Whispered, her voice almost a secret, your people, your kind, have potential we never imagined. You are proof that even the smallest species can leave a mark that echoes across galaxies. Today, you saved me. Tomorrow, who knows what else your courage could do. Looked at her, and in that quiet moment, he realized something powerful. Humans were never weak. They were unpredictable, resilient, and capable of greatness beyond measure. A single human, underestimated and small, could change destinies and reshape worlds. His hand remained on his arm, a silent promise, a bond forged in trust and courage. "Thank you," she said softly. "Not just for saving me, but for showing us all what it means to truly endure, to truly fight, to truly be human." Felt a quiet pride swell inside him, not from glory, not from recognition, but from knowing that, for the first time, he had truly mattered. And on a distant world of violet skis and twin moons, humanity had earned a place it had never been expected to claim. Weeks had passed since and Queen had turned the tide of betrayal within the palace. The halls have now buzzed with cautious optimism. Guards once loyal to the treacherous council had pledged allegiance to their queen, citizens whispered of hope instead of fear, and the air itself seemed lighter, almost alive with promise. Walked beside on the palace balcony, the twin moons reflecting softly on the violet gardens below. "I never imagined peace could feel like this," said quietly, her voice carrying a mix of relief and wonder. Her hand rested lightly on the balcony rail, yet her eyes were fixed on. "You changed everything, not just the council, not just me, but all of." Shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I didn't do it for glory," he said softly. "I just did what I had to. That's what humans do. We survive, we fight, we protect what matters." Turned to him fully, her silver and gold eyes shimmering with an intensity he had not seen before. "Your kind humans are underestimated across the galaxy. But I see now, your strength is not in size or power or weapons. It is in spirit, in courage, in the refusal to give up when all seems lost. You are the reason we stand today." Felt a warmth deep in his chest. Humans were small, fragile, and often overlooked, but moments like this proved something he had always known. When it mattered most, humanity could rise beyond expectation. They adapted, they endured, they shaped destiny. A soft breeze stirred, carrying the scent of alien blooms and the faint hum of itself. Stepped closer, lowering her voice. "I have lived for centuries, ruled with wisdom and strength, yet I have never felt so certain, so inspired. Today you taught me something no throne or crown could, that courage, trust, and heart are more powerful than armies or politics." Looked at her, realizing the depth of her words. He had never sought recognition, yet here it was, acknowledgement from the most formidable being he had ever met. "We humans, we fight for what matters," he said quietly. "We protect those we trust, even when it's dangerous, even when the odds are impossible. That is what makes us strong, not the tools we use, but the choices we make." Nodded, a smile playing at her lips, something softer, warmer than the regality she always displayed. "And because of you has a chance at a new beginning, not just survival, but hope. Your people, your kind, you are part of our story now, part of our legacy." Glanced at the horizon, at the twin moons hovering silently over the violet sky. For centuries, humans had been underestimated, considered small, fragile, insignificant. Yet here he was, standing beside a queen who had once begged him for help, who now regarded him as a force that could reshape a planet. The universe had underestimated humans, and he smiled, knowing that mistake would never be repeated. He said softly, "Humans survive because we believe, because we endure, because we never stop acting when it matters most. And now, I think we've proven that even the smallest species can leave a mark the galaxy will never forget." The queen's gaze softened, her eyes filled with pride, admiration, and something more intimate, trust, hope, and a bond forged through danger and courage. "You are more than human," she whispered. "You are legend." As they stood together on the balcony, overlooking a world reborn, realized that this was not just a victory for, it was a triumph for humanity. A species underestimated, mocked, and overlooked across the stars had shown its power in the most profound way, through courage, ingenuity, and heart. And as the twin moons cast their silver and golden light upon them, understood a truth that would echo across galaxies. Humans were not to be underestimated. Not now, not ever. They could change worlds. They could rewrite destinies. They could stand beside queens, gods, and empires and leave their mark on the universe forever. In that moment, the alien queen who had once begged a human realized that what she truly needed was not just strength or weapons, but humanity itself. And nobody expected this.